Butler. I'm a partner in the Financial Services Regulatory team at Reed Smith. Today I'm going to talk about regulatory hot topics in 2021 for the financial services sector. Now, despite the many challenges posed by the outbreak of the pandemic in 2020, the financial services sector has remained reasonably resilient. At the outbreak of the pandemic, the government, regulators and the central bank understandably focused on the financial and operational resilience of financial institutions and introduced certain short-term measures to support vulnerable customers, including payment holidays for loan and credit products and a moratorium on enforcement. They also introduced measures to support distressed businesses through government-backed loans. Looking beyond these various COVID recovery and relief efforts, a key theme for 2021 is regulatory capital reform. And the FCA is currently consulting on a new regulatory capital regime for investment firms, which will apply from the 1st of January 2022. The UK regime will largely mirror the requirements in the EU prudential regime, which is set to come into force from June 2021 with certain modifications. The UK regime will not only alter how firms calculate their regulatory capital requirements with the introduction of K factors, but it will also have implications for firms' governance, regulatory reporting, disclosure and remuneration arrangements. In the UK, the government and regulators will continue to develop the UK financial services regulatory framework and architecture following the end of the Brexit transition period. Up till now, the UK has adopted much of the EU financial services framework as retained law, subject to certain modifications to reflect the fact that the UK is no longer a member of the EU. However, going forward, there is an expectation that we will start to see a divergence in approach and rules applying to the financial services sector in the UK and the EU. Firms who entered the UK temporary permissions regime will be contacted by UK regulators during 2021 to begin the process of becoming fully authorised and subject to the UK regulatory framework. In addition, the FCA is currently consulting on the framework for supervising international financial institutions and on how firms can access the UK market, including under the Overseas Persons regime. The FCA is also reviewing the current appointed representative and financial promotions approval regimes to assess whether they remain fit for purpose. So there's lots of Brexit related changes ahead in the UK. Sustainability is also a key priority for the UK government and regulators. The EU have already adopted its ESG taxonomy and disclosure framework, which is being phased in stages during the course of 2021 and 2022. The FCA is expected to consult on and implement its own ESG-related disclosure regime in 2021 to combat so-called greenwashing. And it is likely to incorporate some of the requirements in the EU ESG taxonomy and disclosure framework, but with modifications to reflect the needs of the UK market. This is likely to require firms to consider not only the impact that ESG factors, the impact that they have on ESG factors, but what impact ESG factors have on their businesses. And this will require firms to identify and refine ESG risks, conduct stress testing and scenario assessments, as well as monitoring credit risk and due diligence and adopting standardized ESG classification systems and disclosure practices. In addition to these legislative and regulatory initiatives, investors, clients, and other stakeholders are likely to drive change in this space as the demand for green and ESG related products become increasingly popular. And indeed, many industry bodies have been preparing guidance and best practice manuals to assist firms in implementing the necessary changes and meeting these new stakeholder demands. Operational resilience will continue to be an important theme and focus for UK regulators during the course of this year. And financial institutions will be expected to continuously demonstrate resiliency and control effectiveness against a myriad of threats. Certain financial institutions will become subject to the new operational resilience framework, which will be applied from the 31st of March 2022. And so should spend much of this year implementing that framework to ensure that it is fully embedded before the March deadline. The financial resilience of firms operating in the payment and e-money space will also be a key theme in 2021 as UK regulators attempt to enhance protections around customer funds, manage financial and capital risk, and ensure the orderly resolution of such businesses in the event that they get into financial difficulty. The UK regulators will also continue to focus on conduct and culture, with a renewed focus on financial institutions' governance and accountability frameworks. This will mean that the link between the SMCR and the FCA's conduct and culture agenda is likely to become more acute and may trigger enhanced training requirements for senior managers. The types of issues that firms will need to think about include their approach to diversity and inclusion, including steps taken to achieve racial equity, tackling and eliminating sexual harassment, and other types of antisocial behaviour. There has also been a renewed focus on mental health during the pandemic, and regulators have indicated that they expect firms to foster an open and empathetic workplace environment. And as always, the FCA expects senior managers to lead by example. The FCA is currently consulting on introducing a customer duty of care rule. This is likely to take the form of a new principle in the Principles for Businesses, which is a high-level obligation that firms need to incorporate and apply to their day-to-day practices. The purpose of this rule, or this new duty, is to encourage firms to more proactively take customer outcomes into account as part of the services and the activities that they perform with customers. It is highly likely that we will start to see an increase in regulatory investigations and enforcement actions in 2021, including in relation to misconduct which occurred during the pandemic when we were all working remotely from home. There is likely to be a focus on breaches of insider dealing and market abuse rules, and indeed the Financial Services Act has increased sentences for criminal market abuse from 7 to 10 years. Also, as the SMCR has had time to be sort of fully embedded into firms' processes and procedures, we are likely to see some SMC-related enforcement action by the FCA with a view to signalling to the market what is and what is not acceptable conduct by a senior manager when discharging their managerial duties. So there's a lot going on in 2021, 2022 for financial services firms to think about. And if you have any questions or queries in relation to some of the topics that we've discussed today, please feel free to contact me. Thank you very much.